is that 2 or 3 huge coronal mass ejections ago, or 240,000 years ago, a group of humans decided that they didn't want to die in the gigantic coronal mass ejections, these huge fireballs coming out of the sun, and they built ships. They called them arcs, and they moved off planet. And this is in these texts. And they went to a place that the Puranas call Mahar, which is very close to Mars in the way it's pronounced. And they came back after the Earth had healed itself, and they brought back all the genetic stuff and all the plants and the animals, and they restarted life here on Earth. And they are our masters, and they've been living parallel with us for the last 60,000 years, and about 6,000 years ago, they kind of came out of hiding and started civilization. This is what the Puranas say. Now, I wondered why they would suddenly come out of hiding and begin civilization, and when I began looking into that, I realized from my work in alchemy and the cross of Henday that the big coronal mass ejection was coming soon. And then I put 2 and 2 together, and I realized that probably most of everything that's been going on for the last 6,000 years, but especially the last 70 or 80 years, is a mass evacuation by the Aryans back to Mars. And if you look at Joseph Skipper's work, I don't know if you're familiar with his work on the Hale Crater, but if you Google in Hale, H-A-L-E, Hale Crater Civilization, you can see their colony up on Mars. And Joseph was given that picture from an unknown source inside the European Space Agency, and there's farms, and there's roads, and there's buildings, and we know from Hoagland's work that Mars does not have a red sky. It actually has a blue sky, that NASA is actually purposefully coloring the sky to make it look red. Yes. We know that there's all sorts of crazy stuff all over the planet, including forests and rivers and lakes and everything about Mars that we've been told, it isn't true. And so this is a massive cover-up of gigantic proportions, and they're using kind of the alien story as a cover to hide their activities, which I call Project Good, and Good stands for Get Out of Dodge. And so they're getting out of Dodge right now. They're leaving. In fact, they may have already left. I don't know. So that's really my take.
Okay. Now, are you aware of the whistleblower testimony that we have?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. So you will know that our whistleblowers would concur that, there's definitely civilization and colony on Mars and underground bases there and so on.
Yep.
So this information, it would not be new to us, but it is new coming from the texts in India. And that's fascinating that you sort of followed that trail and got to where you are by doing so. Now, it is true. I mean, certainly the texts in India have been talking about basically UFOs, Vimanas, and so on for a long time, and people are very aware of it. It's in the literature, so to speak, in the consensus reality. But where you're going with this is interesting in that you're really focusing on Mars, and you're focusing on a particular group that came from Mars. Now, are you aware of the work of Michael Tellinger at all?
I am. I'm not. I've scanned it. I'm not completely familiar as much as I'd like to be. So, okay. What is he saying?
Well, it's just that I just interviewed him recently, and we had also interviewed him in the summer. He's talking about South Africa, these standing stones and ruins that cover, miles and miles that basically indicate the Anunnaki civilization that Sitchin talks about, where man was possibly originally genetically engineered by the Anunnaki.
Yeah, I am familiar with that. Yeah, that's fascinating work. I agree that could probably be true. Yeah, we were definitely, engineered by these guys, and they're seriously advanced. I mean, they may not even die, actually, from what I've been able to find out. And all the things that we've heard over the years, all the fantastic things about there being an elixir of life and being able to remote view and travel across the universe. These guys do this every day. I mean, this is nothing to them. We are their slaves, and we've been their slaves for thousands of years, and they have abandoned ship because they're afraid of what's going on with the sun, as well they should be, and we all should be. And they have these underground bases on Mars because Mars does not have a magnetic field or tectonic plates. It's not going to suffer the crustal torque or the magnetic storms or any of the things that we're going to suffer when this happens. And I actually believe, by the way, that all the things that we're seeing right now, the volcanoes, the strange earthquakes, the oil pipes that are breaking, the gas clouds that are forming, this is all part of this thing that's going on, this coronal mass ejection building up on the sun is causing a commensurate electromagnetic flux here on Earth because they're intimately related, the sun and the Earth, and we're getting all sorts of resultant crustal torques and volcanoes, and if I was the powers that be, I'd pull up all of the oil drilling pipelines out of the ocean right now, because there's 700 of them in the Gulf alone, and they're going to all start breaking, I'm afraid.
Okay, well, actually, that is interesting the way you're framing it. I have to say that are you aware of the weather wars portion of what's going on as well? Because some of these events that we are experiencing are being purposely moved along and escalated by the powers that be, and I'm wondering if you looked at that side of it.
I have. In fact, what's going on is the powers that be that are here are not the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki have left, but they've left behind managers. We'll call them managers.
Yes.
The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, all these guys are their managers, and the managers don't like us, and they think they're trying to get rid of us, is what they're trying to do. It's a gigantic depopulation effort going on, and it's working. And so they're trying to trim down the population to some reasonable size and hope that they can go into their underground shelters at Denver Airport and all over and avoid the coronal mass ejection damage and come out later. But the more I look at all of this, the more I think that they've just been fooled by the Anunnaki, and that if even they do go underground, all the oxygen is just going to be sucked up off the Earth by the coronal mass ejection. They're going to suffocate in there unless they got 100 years supply of oxygen, which seems rather doubtful. So I don't know if our managers are the smartest people on Earth, but I do know that they are absolutely treacherous, and they will do anything, and they are manipulating the weather. I live in the Pacific Northwest, and I'm telling you, it is winter right now, and it has been winter, and it hasn't stopped. It is freezing cold. It's snowing. It's raining, and it's because they're messing with the weather that's causing resultant low pressure systems to form, and could even be bringing on a mini ice age. So, these things are all combined together.
My evidence is that part of the spill that was engineered, I have a whistleblower testimony telling me that the gaskets, whatever you call them, were known to be weak and that they were supposed to fail. But that there is also a volcano under there that is erupting, and that there is, that oil is supposed to move up the coast, the Atlantic coast, over to Iceland and down the European coast, and that's part of their population, depopulation plans. And so in other words, they're using some of these events to actually steer them in certain ways and to escalate things, also to stimulate some of the things to happen sooner and to happen in certain areas of the world where they want to see this depopulation happen faster. Let's